Welcome to Opinions in 10, online posts and biblical opinions in under 10 minutes. Starting now. I feel dirty for being included in a coworker's will. I'm a 27-year-old male, and I've worked in lower management at my job. I've always been an old soul and have made friends easier with older folks. One of my coworkers turned lifelong friends is a 67-year-old woman, formerly a retired police detective of 30 years, who began working for the company about 2 years ago. She has no family, children, siblings, nothing. We always got along very well and had more in common than with the younger people at my job. I eventually became friends with this coworker outside of work and introduced her to my mom, who's the same age that she is. And they also became very close. Fast forward to this year, and my friend was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer, inoperable. She tried to stay at work, but ultimately decided to retire and quickly degraded health-wise over the next couple of months. When she passed this week, and I found out that she had left me her fairly new SUV, along with an investment that I'm yet to learn the sum of. My mother was also included in the will and was left $350,000 with the instruction to buy a home and to move in with me so that I can take care of her as she ages and have a home to raise a family in or sell in the future. In total, that's almost $500,000 being given to us. She was also very close with another of my coworkers, a woman of my age, and left her the deed to her $400,000 home. I only know this because I was around while the will was being discussed. Whether she tells anyone is her decision, but I'm airing it anonymously here. I feel all kinds of emotion. Obviously, sadness because I just lost a close friend to a horrible disease. Joy because my life is being changed for the better in an instant. And also, to the point of this post, guilt. I know that most of my coworkers were unaware of our friendship outside of the workplace, and I feel like it may be seen as highly inappropriate, i.e. rumors will swirl, by others if a 27-year-old man in a position of power at work inherits a hefty sum of money from a female coworker who was much younger and worked as my immediate subordinate. I know that the obvious choice is not to tell anyone, but I don't know how to keep it a secret when I show up in a new vehicle that was previously hers and when I inevitably have my other coworkers and friends over to my new home. They know that I've always lived paycheck to paycheck, and suddenly buying a home will certainly spark conversation. My best friend is also a coworker in a different department, and while I love the guy, I know if I tell him about the money, he's going to let it slip to the rest of the workplace. Eventually. I guess my question is, should I keep the inheritance a secret? Lying to my friends to hide the situation? Or should I stay quiet and tell people the truth if they end up asking me about it? My mother has already told me to keep it a complete secret, even to the other family, but I don't know if it's necessarily healthy to live like that, hiding things from friends and family simply because it's an unusual circumstance. What would you guys do in my situation? I do not want to come off as bragging if I tell people, and I'm afraid how workplace jealousy could affect the way my employees treat me. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Well, first allow me to say that I'm sorry for your loss. It's always a very difficult thing to lose someone that you're close to, let alone piling workplace drama on top of it. Envy is a problem as old as mankind, unfortunately. If you had inherited $10, nobody would care, but to inherit so much will spark feelings in other people of easy money, which will turn into envy. And because envy cannot be resolved short of you just giving them all of your inheritance, they will want to slander you as the next step. Meanwhile, you would trade it all just to have your friend back. In other words, if they can't have what you have, they would rather have you degraded into meaninglessness. It's a pride issue. You're definitely in the right to be cautious of envy. People feel entitled to everything good that happens to another person and none of the bad. The 10 Commandments holds a bare bones instruction to the people. The last of the 10 says, "Thou shalt not covet." It just means that you can want the kind of thing that another person has, but you can't want what they have. Solomon later goes on to teach the consequences and futility of breaking this command. In Proverbs 14:30, he says that there are physical consequences that go with it. He says, "A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones." We've seen modern science support the idea that a person's emotional health can be a positive or a negative for his body. People who are trapped in the negativity of life, always looking for the next thing that's gone wrong, always end up with more health problems than people who count their blessings. The Apostle James takes up the teaching in regard to the consequences for a group of people. In James 3:16, he says, "For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice." In other words, envy is not simply an emotion one feels which is disconnected from everything else that happens in the world. It directly affects the quality of life, both for yourself and for everyone else. You see, when someone allows themselves to venture into covetousness, and they want what rightfully belongs to another person, the estimation of value that you place on the person who owns that thing goes down. After all, to take what belongs to him means that you have to be okay with wronging him. It simply isn't possible that you can knowingly take what belongs to another person and hold that person in the kind of high esteem that the Bible commands when Moses wrote, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." And finally, Peter gives instruction about covetousness in 1 Peter 2:1. He says, "Therefore, rid yourselves of all malice and deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind." And this is where I'm going to hang my hat in this podcast. As much as is in your power, keep it a secret. You said that it was not known to the majority of your coworkers that you had a friendship outside of work, and I would suggest keeping it that way. She was a family friend. I would volunteer no information about this. As far as the car goes, I'm sure the car company, in some lofty scheme to make a profit, made more than one. It's not wrong for 2 people to drive the same kind of car. You certainly don't have to volunteer any information, and I think it would be wise for you to not do so. Your private life is yours, and you don't owe it to a single person, especially as a supervisor, to share your private life with anyone. I live by the same rule. I've done some pretty cool things that I don't tell anyone about for the same reason. It doesn't even sound like you can trust your friends to keep the matter private. If you can't trust your friends, how can you trust your coworkers? In the end, some things are just meant to be left private. And that'll do it for today. God bless.